36 years of basketball knowledge and life skills. Your host, Coach Goins, focuses on today's topics on and off the court, helping players and coaches achieve their goals. So get ready for another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game with your host, Coach Goins.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's that time of day. It is for Sunday Conversation, and I'm your host, Coach Goins. Listen, as we always say, make sure you got your sneakers on, you got them laced up tight. You know, it is December. Can you believe it? December 2017, and you know what? We are back on the grind. So good to be home. You know, that's what's so special about this week's episode. I am home. I'm in the great Commonwealth of Virginia, and it's just great to be home and be back in the studio and not on the road. You know, because sometimes on the grind, it just kind of wears you down. But that's all right. That's all good. And I'm just so happy that my main man, the best co-host in the nation. You know, some people talk about Stephen Smith. Some people talk about Shannon Sharp. I've got none other than Coach Mike Quick. Coach Quick, welcome to Basketball More in the Game.
Glad to be here, Coach Goins. How are you?
Oh, man, you know how it is. It's that time of month, man. It's December, and I know you loaded for bear. Folks, I'm telling you right now, before we get into the heart and soul of this podcast today, Coach Quick hit me up earlier today and said that he was prepared, you know, on all cylinders. So I'm telling you now, even before we get crunk, he's going to be bringing it to you. Before we do, let's make sure we pay the bill so Coach Quick and Coach Goins can stay on this podcast. And we just like to thank none other than our title sponsor, Mr. Curtis Jackson, your broker, agent, and benefits coordinator. So for your insurance needs, make sure you reach out to Curtis, because I tell you what, you cannot find a finer gentleman in this business, and that will tell you, number one, up and honest, what you need to do to prepare now and also for your loved ones when that time comes and you do not want to be caught without being prepared as it relates to yourself and as your loved ones. So you can reach him at area code 919-614-5796. And again, that's Mr. Curtis Jackson, and his office is in Creedmoor, North Carolina. Please reach out and give him a call. And when you do give him a call, tell him he certainly appreciate all his time and efforts and his staff and their continued support to Basketball More in the Game. Because without great sponsors as Mr. Jackson, it would be very hard for Coach Quick and I to do what we do. And that's just to try to reach the masses out on the show. So what's that, Coach Quick? You know what? I got another good little update for you there, sir. We have picked up another country in Africa. So now we're in Ghana, Africa. So that's quite exciting to be in. That makes our second stop off in Africa. So it's just so good that we're continuing to span the globe and reach the folks and reach the masses. So with that, and like I said, Coach Quick has done some homework. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump over here on the passenger side, and Coach Quick is going to run this show tonight. And he's going to be taking the lead. So as always, the first part of the podcast is the fast break. So I'm going to kick that outlet pass over to Coach Quick, and you got it, Coach.
Yes, sir. Coach Goins, I just wanted to start the show off this week by saying, first and foremost, prayers continuously with the Capel family, you as well. And as Coach Jeff Capel is going on home to be with the good Lord, but just wanted to say, God bless you and your family, and just get continuous prayers to you all. Also, I wanted to start the show out with college football, with the playoffs coming up soon upon us. The 4 playoff teams, the Clemson Tigers are the number 1 seed, number 2 seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, number 3, the Georgia Bulldogs, and ladies and gentlemen, the number 4 seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They got into the playoff picture for the 4th straight year. Also, though, I think it's a little bit of controversy behind that. Coach Goins, let me ask you your take on that, on the 4 teams in the playoffs.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you spanning the globe and making sure that we're touching such a valuable sport as college football. But you know what? When I look at it, you know, I'm definitely in agreement with Alabama being in. You know, some people say Ohio State should have got the nod, but you know, when you looking at what you just said in the stat line in reference to Alabama. You know, some people may say they didn't deserve, but they are a powerhouse, and that's why a little struggle with a little bit of college football and how they play, and they say strength of schedule, or they go out and they'll beat teams by 30 and 40 points. But I think the committee nailed it. I think, all honesty, I think it'll be Clemson and Oklahoma. You hadn't asked me that question, so I'm going to kind of get out in front of it. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what goes on down in Death Valley, but that old Dabo Swinney, he has a program. I appreciate what he does for that institution. I appreciate his focus on with his players, but most importantly, Coach, I think you way to start the show off and just throwing us right in the thick of things. But again, I agree with the 4 that's in there, but I think you will have to come through Clemson in order to win that thing.
Hey, I agree with that, Coach Goins, but I sort of disagree with the 4th team. Not saying Alabama's not deserving, not at all, but Ohio State, when you beat 2 top 4 teams, and one of them being an undefeated team in the conference championship game in Wisconsin, and you also beat a team in the top 12. You're going by the one real, and it was a real bad loss to Iowa. Anytime you lose 55-21, but I just sort of feel that Ohio State should have been in. And here's my take on that. I wish the playoffs would expand to 8 teams. But I'm in agreement with you. I'm pulling for Clemson. There's a reason behind that as well, But I think it will be Clemson and Oklahoma, and I'm going with Clemson. A lot of people don't know that Clemson's starting quarterback, Kelly Bryant. He's been battling Crohn's disease since about 2012.
Wow.
And a lot of people may not know what Crohn's disease is, so I just wanted to touch a little bit on that, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's enlighten them.
Crohn's disease, it teaches Kelly Bryant how to handle adversity and injuries. He has battled a concussion and lower ankle injury throughout this season, but Crohn's disease has helped him battle through the nagging little injuries. Crohn's disease belongs to a group of conditions known as inflammatory bowel diseases, better known as IBD. Crohn's is a chronic inflammatory condition of the gastrointestinal tract. In February 2014, Bryant was hospitalized with stomach pains that he thought were related to his Crohn's meds. Come to find out, he needed surgery to remove an infection and a second surgery to repair his small intestine. After months in recovery, Bryant found himself weighing 167 pounds,
wow,
40 pounds lighter than his playing weight the previous season. I'm pulling for this kid, because as an individual who is married to someone who's lived with Crohn's disease since the year 2000, I know what this kid is going through. It takes a lot of toughness and fortitude, intestinal fortitude, to be able to do what he's done. And, he states sometimes he still has stomach pains, but he doesn't let it stop him. He keeps going. By the grace of God, this kid, he gets it, and he has a whole lot of heart. And just that alone has me pulling for Kelly Bryant and the Clemson Tigers to win this thing. I'm a Dabo Swinney fan. I personally think he's the top college football coach in America today. I think he's overtaken Urban Meyer and Nick Saban. I think Dabo Swinney has got something special brewing down at Clemson, South Carolina.
You know what? Without a shadow of a doubt, man. You know what? And I want to kind of touch back on the whole playoff scene again. What would be cool if they would allow Ohio State and Alabama to play, and then the winner rolls in.
Right. I would love that.
It's just to say, okay, you know what? Let's like I always tell people, check your guns at the door, put 50 cents on the counter, and let's play this game. And do that, and then let the guys, and then get play that game, give them a couple weeks off, and then or a week off, and that's another thing that I really, why are we waiting all the way to like New Year's Day, and it's just like the NFL, used to be 2 weeks before the Super Bowl or 3 weeks, and they shorten that window down, and that's what to me that's what's so important. That we be able to get in and get the rocking and rolling and not be, tied up with a whole bunch of rigmarole. But no, what, Mike, I appreciate that research on that. And you're exactly right. When a kid gets out there and the kid's going through a lot of stuff, there's nothing nicer than getting on that guy's bandwagon because of what the struggles that he's dealing with off the court or off the field, but he's able to turn around and put those things into play. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this thing back over to Coach Quick. But, yeah, that's a great question, great research, and I feel wholeheartedly. I mean, when a young player is dealing with what he's dealing with and he's able to put it together and bring it every day on the football field, how can you not get in behind them? So, Clemson Tigers all the way.
Yes, sir. All right, before we move on from college football, I just wanted to touch on the Heisman Trophy finalists this weekend. Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma, Lamar Jackson out of the University of Louisville, and Bryce Love out of Stanford. I'm thinking Baker Mayfield is going to win the Heisman, but I'm certainly pulling for Bryce Love because of the North Carolina ties. So what's your take? Who you got winning the Heisman, Coach Goins?
You know, I'd have to go ahead and pull for the kid for Oklahoma. He's had a great career, and that's that's something that I'll share this with you real quick. I remember as a kid, as a young player playing in the yard, that's something that I wanted to win, but I had no idea that linemen or big dudes never won it. It was always running back or maybe receiver or quarterback, and just what a great tradition, that whole platform and the commercials with it's a life-changing award. Those guys have to be careful, because sometimes they achieve that and win that award, and sometimes it kind of fizzles out. But I'm going to tip my hand to the young man out of Oklahoma.
Yes, sir. He's had a heck of a career. He's a great kid, and I think he's going to put up big numbers in college football playoffs. I can't wait to see the games. Just looking forward to them. Okay, moving along to the National Football League. Monday night's game. I know you got a lot of thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do as well, and I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to Mr. Shazer, who had the injury on Monday night, the spinal injury. My thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. I bid you Godspeed and praying for a speedy recovery for you.
You know what, Mike? And that was, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm glad you brought that up. That was probably the toughest game I've ever watched. As a fan, as a long time, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan all my life, when to watch a play like that was very hard. And even to continue to watch the game, because there was times I was like, you know what, I'm going to shut it down and move on and do something else. But then part of me wanted to stay and see, how we as a team, would pull together, through adversity. And for the young folks that are listening, as well as the coaches that, tune us in each week, Coach Quick just, he brought up a great topic. It's something that, that players can learn, that, you gotta keep your head up. You can't drop your head. Prayers to Ryan and his entire family, and we just wishing. Number one thing is, I'm not worried about football. I just want the young man to be able to walk, and that's my prayers. And then if that all works out and he wants to come back, fine. But if not, I just want his quality of life for him to have that decision to be able to say if I want to play or I just want to move on. But yeah, just kind of really looking at the full body of work. It's a tough game. As Ben said, at the end of the game, it's AFC North. I'm very disappointed in Juju for standing over after he hit the linebacker. I understand the play. It was a block. It was a great block. But standing over him was a little bit much. And then, of course, the young man that hit AB in the end zone headshot. There's no place in the game for that. But also, that's the speed of the game. And it's one thing if you're totally aiming for somebody's head, then it's then do whatever you need to do. But I think it needs to be disciplined during the game, and I know that was at the end of the game. So if it's the end of the game, it should come. Here's my rule: if it's under 2 minutes in the game, and that happens, suspend the guy for the first half of the next game. Sitting out an entire game. And I understand the NFL. They're and I don't want to use the phrase grasping for straws as it relates to the concussion protocol, because such a bad light is on the NFL. It is a violent game. Hands down, it is a violent game. And when you have a man that's 6'4", 6'5", he's 200 and some pounds, and he's running as fast as he can, it's a car accident. That's all it's two human beings running together, and if somebody ducks right at the last second, your head lines out. But, it's, you look over the course of that entire series, there's been jaws broken, there's been guys hurt that can't play the next week. The Ravens, coming up, that's a tough game, but there's nothing like the Cincinnati Steelers game. So again, I'm just glad, Mike, that we got out there with a W. It wasn't pretty, but through the circumstances, and the guys had to rally. Hats off to them. If we would have lost, we would have lost, because at the moment in time during that game, I really didn't care about football. Just to see somebody in that that physical state, and you could just tell he was scared himself, just because the way, again, I'm not trying to speculate or saying what was on his mind, but just his reaction when he was down on the floor and not feeling his legs, and the things that ran through his mind. But I just appreciate the organization, appreciate Coach Tomlin knows getting over to the hospital, spending some time. I know I was reading some reports today that he's still under some evaluation, but do what you got to do in order to be able to get out of this thing and let football let football stay where it needs to stay, and we'll just keep Ryan and the entire family lifted up in prayer. So, Mike, I appreciate that you bringing that up.
Right, it's just a time. Sports is one thing; it's a beautiful thing, but whenever it comes down to the value of life, sometimes you have to just put sports aside and focus on the person. And Ryan Shazer, he's a big-time athlete, big-time football player, but he's an even greater person. And also, just run my mind back over the weekend, a kid from South Carolina State University sitting on the bench during the North Carolina State game. He actually stopped breathing, his heart stopped. If it wasn't for someone being able to perform CPR, who knows what would have happened. But by the grace of God, the young man's doing fine now, and he's on the road to recovery. But as you said, thoughts and prayers continue to go out to Ryan Shazer and the young man from South Carolina State as well.
And while you there, we don't have any ties to the young man at South Carolina State, but the head coach at South Carolina State used to be Coach Bobby Collins, who I went to high school with, a good friend of mine. Used to be his assistant coach at Winston-Salem State before he took over the head coaching job. So that was that was one of the coaching grapevines from down through Coach Collins, and be able to branch off. And this young coach takes over South Carolina, and then of course as Coach Quick said, such a playing the ball game, and that happens, and just so again, prayers go out to that young man and that entire basketball team as they continue to work down through that. Both of these things that Coach Quick is bringing up tonight are life-changing events. And again, it's not about basketball, it's not about football, it's about life. So again, Mike, you're definitely got it dialed in, and definitely appreciate you bringing these hot topics up.
Yes, sir. That's what we love to do here at basketball, more than a game. And like you always say, it is more than a game. Sometimes, life factors in more than anything in the world, and that we just love bringing up those topics, the hot topics here on the show. And a little bit back to football, the NFL, they're pretty much getting pretty close to the playoffs coming up. And if the playoffs started today, you're looking at the division leaders in the NFC, Minnesota, Philadelphia, New Orleans, and the Los Angeles Rams, with the wild card participants being the Carolina Panthers, Seattle Seahawks. AFC, division leaders, New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, Tennessee Titans, Kansas City Chiefs at 6-6, and the wild card, Jacksonville, Baltimore. Kansas City has been a big disappointment since early in the season. I don't know what has happened, but they're just not playing up to their potential in my eyes. And but if the playoffs started today, I think it will be locked and loaded and ready to go.
You know what? That's exactly right. And it's still a lot of dealing going on. And a lot of things is going to transpire, but I call it that Andy Reid deal. It's almost kind of a little bit of Buffalo Bills. They come in, they start off one way, then all of a sudden they're popping. But I will throw this out: one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the National Football League is Russell Wilson. I'm like, watch the game Sunday, and I'm just like, this guy is like almost a one-man band, if you will, on offense. He does have a couple targets, but hats off, a tremendous talent, and we just appreciate what he does off the field as well as what he does on the field. Just 100% total gentleman and just takes care of business on the field. And I really feel sorry for the coach at North Carolina State that said basically he wasn't his guy. And it just and then he transfers, and then now he's doing what he's doing in the NFL. And I'm just gonna be honest with you, Coach. Some coaches miss it. Some coaches just miss the talent, and it's right in front of them. But and that's another thing for you young players. If that happens, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Russell could have walked away from North Carolina State and says, "Okay, I'm not going to play football. I'm just going to play baseball." But he didn't. He continued to move forward. So sometimes coaches and players may not see eye to eye in certain situations. But again, just a tremendous talent. And I'll wrap up by saying this: Go Steelers.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's move right along on to the sport of college basketball.
Oh, watch out now. Watch out. Here we go.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to give you a rundown of the top 15 teams in America right now. Had some key losses this week. I'll touch bases on those as well. Number one team in the land, the Duke Blue Devils, followed by the Kansas Jayhawks, Michigan State Spartans at number 3, Villanova Wildcats at number 4, the Florida Gators at number 5, who lost to Florida State on Monday night. Wichita State, the Shockers come in at number 6. Number 7, Texas A&M, who lost to Arizona last night. Big win for Arizona. Needed to get back on track in the worst way. Number 8, Kentucky. Number 9, Notre Dame, who lost to Ball State at the buzzer last night. 3-point shot at the buzzer. The life of college basketball. Anything can happen. Number 10, the Miami Hurricanes. Coming in at number 11, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Number 12, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who lost to Villanova last night in the Jimmy B Classic. Number 13, Xavier. Number 14, Minnesota. And number 15, the Virginia Cavaliers, who lost to West Virginia on last night. So, a lot of, some early season losses for some of these teams, but it's just getting them prepared and getting them ready for the grind of conference play and the NCAA tournament on down the line.
You know what? That was some great games last night. As I was kind of flipping through, and of course I was had to stop off and watch the Blue Devils just because, not because they were playing, but more importantly, Jason Capel was commentating the game. So I had an opportunity to watch the game with my mom, and of course she gets a kick out, and when they kick out of when they show on the bench and she sees Jeff the third, and then she hears Jason's voice, and then see him at the end of the game wrap up. But that's right. I mean, Virginia I'm only just a few miles down the road from Charlottesville, and of course great friends with Ralph Sampson. In my opinion, Coach Quick, Virginia just doesn't score enough points. I know defense is defense. Defense can win games, but you got to be able to put some buckets. Switching over to your boys in Chapel Thrill, I tell you what, it can be a very, very dangerous team. I would not want to play them. And the only thing I think they're lacking, and unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, if Bradley would have stayed, you guys would be, you would be a very solid team. You're a dangerous team just because of guard play. And anybody that follows basketball know the NCAA tournament is guard play. And when you've got solid guards, you can do a lot of things in the NCAA tournament. But Carolina, if Pinson does what he's supposed to do, and Luke May plays within himself, to me he didn't do a good job of that when they played Michigan State.
Yes, sir.
But when he came back and played Michigan, it seems like he struggles a little bit when he's playing up against a bigger big. And I think he's playing well. But I hope he's just not reading a lot of the newspapers because you hear so much of the Kevin Love comparison. And to me,
right.
To me, it's a little different. He's not Kevin Love. He doesn't have that skill set yet. He's a player that's worked very hard on the off season. I think he is one of the most improved college basketball players. But as long as he plays within himself and realize that the people that are around him, and I think and some of the younger guys, meaning the bigs, kind of step their game up a little bit. Chapel Hill, the Hills can be very, very close to that Final Four in San Antonio. Of course, Tom Izzo is always going to put it on the court. You never got to worry about Iz. He's going to have it there. And if they're not in the top 4 or 5, he's scratching back to get it back. But I tell you what, a special talent is Marvin Bagley III.
Without a doubt.
I mean, I'm just like, I watched him last night, man, and I was just like, you know what? I've been so impressed, and I've been trying to watch every Duke game just because I know he's only going to be there for a season, you know, and that's where I try to tell people, you know, when that opportunity comes, you got to be able to dial it in and get ready to rock and roll. But also, I don't want to leave out the Villanova Wildcats. I've always been a big fan of Coach Jay Wright. I think he runs a great organization. He does a great job in Villanova, and they will be very, very dangerous. And it's a little bit too early right now to call the Final Four, but I will give you a little snapshot of it. I do think Kansas, Duke, Chapel Hill, and Michigan State will be in the Final Four. I don't think a mid-major can handle those guys just because the size of Duke is huge. They're a huge, huge team. And once those guards start clicking, and I didn't realize Trent Jr., his dad was the Shaq of the Mac. And he shot the ball really well last night, and so did your guard from Carolina, Barry. He played really, really well, but he just has to get a couple of the guards to come alongside with him, and Chapel Hill will be there. But that's my early Final Four. We'll talk about that probably by mid-February show. But I will say the Hills. Listen, I said the Hills, Duke, Michigan State, and Kansas, and maybe looking in, maybe Villanova. But I think college basketball is off to a great, great start. I know the Blue Devils travel to Boston Saturday. Who does Carolina open up with?
Well, we played tonight against Western Carolina, and then we're off for about the next 11 days before we travel to Tennessee on December 17th. Tennessee almost got us last year in Chapel Hill, so going up there is going to be a tough game, whereas Rick Barnes renews his rivalry with the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Oh, so y'all play tonight. What time is that game tonight?
7 o'clock on the Regional Sports Network.
Oh, Lord. So I know I may not get in here in VA if it's on Regional Sports Network. Maybe that just because of who they're playing.
Yeah, you may be able to, because it's supposed to be on like a lot of different channels. I've seen NBC, Fox Sports South. It's just saying Regional Sports Network.
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out and see if it's on there. But yeah, because actually I'm going to go to Liberty. Liberty University's playing Maryland Eastern Shore. Liberty's only like 57 miles from here, so I'm going to slide down to that game Friday night. Then I've got a coach in the tournament Saturday to kind of fill in because one of the coaches is sick on the travel squad. So I've been trying to do some crash jamming at some of the practice and get up to speed. And then Sunday I'll be down in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech plays Maryland Eastern Shore, so I'll be down. So it's 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the grind, checking out some basketball. But I can't have my good friend from high school, Bobby Collins, who's the head coach at Maryland Eastern Shore, come in the backyard and not load up and go support him. So be making those 2 trips this weekend, and just wanting to give him a shout out and best of luck because he lost basically 4 starters to injuries this year. So he's got it holding together with a Band-Aid. But if anybody can do it, Coach Collins is the man. Okay. All right, quick. So what's your take on your pre? Give me I'm gonna put you on the spot. Give me your preseason Final Four, or mid or early. Give me your December Final Four.
The favorites right now is probably Duke, Michigan State, Kansas, and Villanova, but I got to stick my Tar Heels in there just because we're sliding under the radar right now. So my prediction is Duke, Michigan State, Carolina, Villanova. But like I said, I gave you the favorites to get there first, then I gave you my prediction. But if our bigs come along, I believe we're going to be fine. But the key to UNC's team is getting Cameron Johnson back, another shooter who can spread the court. And I actually think Roy should take a page out of Jay Wright's book this season. We're going to have to go small awful lot. Luke May playing the 5, just like he got to guard those big guys down low. They got to come out on the perimeter and guard him too. And he's definitely a much improved basketball player. And as you said earlier, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Keep putting in the work. Don't read the papers what everybody's saying about Kevin Love, talking about potential national player of the year. Just keep working.
Right.
Keep grinding as you've done every summer.
That's exactly right. Couldn't say it any finer than what Coach Quick just dialed up, because that's what it's about. It's about hard work, and I talked about that on the show I did for Ralph Sampson the other night, and that was the title of my 10-minute segment was hard work, and that's what you got to do. I mean, there's a reason why, and I'm not taking anything away from May, but he still has some work to do. And he's come a long ways, and I'm sure all the Carolina fans appreciate him, and everybody appreciate what he does. But the only thing we're calling out is just continue to work the process, and you'll be fine.
Yes, sir. I can't leave college basketball without touching on LeVar Ball. I don't understand this guy. He's pulled his son LeAngelo out of school at UCLA and claims that he can get him far better ready for the NBA draft than the coaches at UCLA. I just don't understand LeVar Ball. I think he's going to end up ruining each one of his kids' careers. And, I hate to say that, but he's a knucklehead. He should have left his kid in school, or at least if you wanted him not to be at UCLA, let him transfer to another school. I don't see this kid getting drafted this summer. I really don't. I would like to know your thoughts on that, Coach Goins.
All right, you know what? My pastor preached a sermon not long ago. It was entitled "Caution: Fools Ahead." Sometimes you see a fool, you got to avoid the fool. Yes, now we're not Coach Goins, and Coach Quick is not here on the show telling you to go call somebody a fool, but we're just saying caution. There are fools out there, so when you see a fool, don't participate with a fool. Here's my call out, Coach. And again, you're just knocking it all out of the park tonight. And I just appreciate your focus, your passion, and what you're bringing to the show. And here's my thing. You get on the plane. But first of all, you're in school. You get on the plane. You go overseas, and you shoplift sunglasses. I don't care if it was a pack of Hubba Bubba. You're not in downtown Aberdeen. You're not in downtown Richmond, Virginia. You're not in Southern Pines. You're not in Carthage, North Carolina. You're in a foreign country. And then whatever happens, President Trump does what he does, and then of course he and Ball's dad gets into it. So here's the thing: if I'm UCLA, he comes back, he's suspended. He's not playing this year. He's done because number one, he all three of them. They're gonna now. He turns around and then yanks him out of school. You know what? I'd have been the first one if I'd have been the coach for UCLA. I'd have been the first one matching the elevator. I'd have been the second one holding the door open, and then I'd have ran to the curve, and whatever car they were riding in, I would have held that door open for him. Yes, take him and his dusty, raggedy game, and get him out of UCLA. And I'm not even impressed with his old. I'm not even impressed with the kid at with the Lakers. I mean, because here's and I'm gonna jump on my soapbox real quick. I'm in the gym Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Thursday nights working with kids. And it's very hard to come in and do what we do when they see guys in the NBA with them sidewindy shots. And it's just like, well, you working with a kid on the shot, and they go, well, they're shooting it that way. Well, you know what? He's one out of, 500 guys in the NBA, whatever the number is. But, those guys, they're hurting the game. And then when you get clowns like LeVar Ball, and he's doing, what? Take your son out of school. If I was college coaches, I wouldn't want him on my team because I wouldn't want to deal with his dad. Because you're a little too close to the program. The NBA, you can deal with it because if he gets to that level, then it's not, he's not going to be around. He's not going to be, and I don't know. I just don't like where this guy's coming from. He's too much of a distraction. So the best thing he could have done was got his son out of UCLA, so now they can play some basketball.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my guy, Brendan Robinson, on his birthday tonight. Favorite Tar Heel, Brendan Robinson. Happy birthday. Go work hard tonight. Get the W for the Tar Heels.
How about that? So his birthday is tonight?
Yes, sir.
That's all right. Now he's, what is he, a freshman?
Yeah, no, he's a sophomore.
Sophomore.
Yes, sir.
Now, where's Kenny? Now, Kenny Smith's son, is he hurt? What's the status on him?
Well, he's redshirting this year.
Okay.
He transferred. He played at Pacific
Gotcha.
last season.
Okay, so that's why. Okay, because I'm just like I'm like, now which one? Okay, so that's what you got to. Folks, if any you got any questions that goes on in Chapel Hill, you ain't got to worry about calling. Don't call the basketball office. Call Coach Quick, and he'll dial it up and get it rocking and get it rocking and rolling. But and that's the thing. Carolina went out on that West Coast swing, and that's a tough trip for the young guys. All of that travel. They're gone away, and most of them probably the first time they've ever been away from home at Thanksgiving, and to roll out and not play well the way they did. I mean, that's that happens. The same thing with Duke. People talking about they're undefeated. You know what? They are. But you need to lose so you know how to come back and win, or prepare to try to come back and win. So you have to be very careful with these guys going undefeated, because you don't want to get in a situation where when you're playing where you can't lose. I've always had that philosophy. You got to be able to lose, and then you got to be able to put it together. Because I remember, Mike, your senior year at Union Pines, we went 24-6.
Yes, sir.
And I'll never forget. Somebody said, "What?" I said, "Man, we played that many games at the high school level, but we were 24-6." And you look and say, "Man, we." And then when I remember we played Ledford at Union Pines, and if I'm not mistaken, we were 100% we shot 100% from the free throw line.
Yes, sir.
And Kevin Brooks had most of those. I mean, I don't know why my mind shifted over to that, but it did. But just when those young guys go to college, it's tough, man, to play that many games. Because think about it. I mean, most of those high school kids are just used to, playing in the game, getting in the car, riding the bus, maybe an hour, get off, go play the game, and do the process to get home. But now they're packing a bag, they're flying all across the country, and thousands of miles, sleeping in hotels. I mean, that is definitely a grind, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yes, sir. Yep. If you want to move right along to the NBA, talk a little bit of NBA before we close the show.
Man, we got to talk about that. That, because I got. Go ahead. You got it, man. We on the road. Let's roll.
Yeah. First of all, let's talk about the Cavs. They on a current 12-game win streak. My take on it, they've started to play a little bit better defense, and LeBron is just truly showing how great he is, considering some of the things that the team is having to deal with. Derrick Rose, who is now back with the organization, who is he left the team to kind of refocus himself. He's tired of being hurt, which I totally understand. You know how he feels. He just had to get away for a bit, think about life, and but the Cavs now, they're rolling, and so hopefully they're on the path to getting things right, getting healthier, and ready to compete for an NBA championship.
You know what? Well, here's the thing. LeBron James is LeBron James. Only call out I got is, man, that block he had the other night, I think they were playing in Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
Man, they got one up. Man, that guy was like, I mean, he blocked this guy's shot just like he come from like he come from the backboard down. Not like he jumped and blocked it. It was like he was up on the backboard and threw the ball down. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it's a new squad. They have to get used to playing without the kid. They got to get used to the everything. I mean, it's just like I'm going to call Chauncey Billups and how he called out, Paul Pierce when he said, you don't win an NBA championship in the first month. The Cavs will be fine. Bottom line, the Cavs will be in the NBA Finals, hands down. And then I was talking to my buddy Vic today when I was on the way in from the office. I don't know, Kevin Durant and this gangster role he's playing the other night with the technical fouls and then Draymond Green. I don't know. You know what? I can't understand these guys. It's just like, why are you acting the way you're acting? I mean, Draymond Green gets called, whatever happens, he's just gonna get up and he's just gonna walk all up on the official. And then what KD was doing to Boogie, and I'm just like, what's all that about?
Exactly.
Just play the game. And then Steve Kerr was talking about, he said, we just got to be able to control our emotions. I mean, you are the champs. I mean, you're supposed to be acting a certain way, and you're not. And again, it's not about they can't be on the edge, and I'm not saying that, but it seems like I never seen Kevin Durant do this when he was in OKC. Never saw him do this when he was even before when he was with the Supersonics and then went to Oklahoma City. And now he's out there, and then that's all of a sudden he's got to have this persona. He's got to be, you know what, KD, I'm gonna call you out, dude. Clean it up. Clean it up because it is definitely not within your character that you're doing. So clean it up, play the game. You're a tremendous talent, not taking anywhere away from your skill set. I'm just asking you to focus on what you need to do, and that's the thing that these guys that sometimes they lose sight of. And then Draymond Green, he thinks he's the man. He want to impress me. Trade him to Phoenix. Trade him to Phoenix, and then see if he's an all-star.
I completely agree with that. And and just like you said, piggybacking off the Kevin Durant thing, it's been 3 ejections in like the last 18 games. That's definitely out of his character.
Oh yeah, it's pathetic. I mean, it's just like, really? I mean, you don't turn on just like what was the last game I watched them play was Oklahoma City and Golden State, and of course they went OKC, and of course it was going to be chippy, and they got in, and Westbrook is going to bring it every day. Even though I appreciate his game, I appreciate his hustle. I just underestimate his decision making skills, and they've got to work that out between he and Melo and Paul George. But enough of that one. But my thing is, those guys come in. You can't blow a quick whistle, but you can't let people get away with the crazy stuff. But I just think Golden State needs to kind of take a step back. Steve Kerr, he needs to reel him in a tad. And just ask those guys just to focus in on what they need to do. Boston's playing well. The Sixers are playing well. We got a lot of young talent. I see, same thing with the Bucks. And one of the most exciting teams is the Milwaukee Bucks. Same thing with the Washington Wizards. Almost call them the Bullets. John Wall. So the NBA is doing quite well, talent-wise. My Clippers, Blake's out. I mean, they're in shambles. I mean, they were talking about, should they trade DeAndre Jordan? I mean, you know what? I wouldn't have never brought him back in the first place. And the dude can't shoot a free throw. If he ain't dunking, he ain't gonna do nothing for you. And now the Clippers, Doc Rivers he's better than that. I'm not saying he's, they're gonna hold the coach accountable, but that is, he's got to get the shit right, and because he's too talented a coach to have all of those issues. And of course, you can't control it when players get hurt. But the league, I think, is definitely heading in the right direction as it relates to the talent. But these guys that are coming out and these one and dones, and I just want the guys that are still in school to really take a hard look at that, because just like you had, who was the number one player picked last year was who?
Lonzo Ball.
All right, then you had the kid from Duke.
No, I'm sorry. Markelle Fultz was the number 1 pick.
Okay, and then
from out of Washington. Lonzo Ball was number 2.
And then
Tatum, the kid
from Duke, was number 3. Right. All right. So it's a great call. So there was 3 guys that came out, and then you turn around this year, then you're going to have Bagley come out. And you got to realize, I mean, it's such a quantum leap, from high school to college to the NBA, and you guys that leave early, they just like your guy that left Carolina, Bradley. I don't know where. I mean, you got any insight on him?
He's currently in the developmental in the G League. He's had 2 big time ball games over the last 2 games. First game, I think he had a total of 28 points, and the second game he's had 24. But up until then, he was buried on the Utah Jazz's bench. I'd love to have him in Chapel Hill right now, because I think it would make us a definite favorite to repeat as champs. But it was his decision.
Oh, sure. And that's what I don't think I'm saying. I just want these guys to be able to get in the NBA, enjoy that time, and don't be in the NBA and be in the league 3 years, and then we're trying to figure out where they're going. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, it's a decision. They got to make that decision. But I just would just like them to be able to be a better all-around player before going up and then all of a sudden become a whole instrument, or you got to put a whole body of work involved.
Yeah, or not in the league, period.
Excuse me. Man, I've got a tickle in my throat. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. And I got to just say something about that.
Go ahead.
San Antonio Spurs organization. I tell you, man, Greg Popovich, what he's doing, the organization is class and it's just professionalism. To still have that team in the top 3 of the Western Conference, and you hadn't had Tony Parker but a few games this season maybe, and haven't had Kawhi Leonard all year, your best player, the All-Star. To still be a top 3 team in the Western Conference, wow, that's big time. Hopefully getting Kawhi back soon, maybe around January, but get him back and they just continue to roll. Just a top-flight organization with a whole ton of professionalism.
You know what? And that's what makes Pop. And that's the thing. You look at. It's not about who starts. It's about who's able to slide in. You just like you say. You got Patty Mills, and you got the rest of the cast and crew that's stepping up and making it pop. So I appreciate you recognizing what those guys are getting done down in the Lone Star State.
Yes, sir. All right. I guess coming up with our closing comments as we close the show.
All right, man. I had the closing comments, and I'll let you close us out today. So again, first of all, go ahead.
Well, okay. Okay, that's fine.
All right. Good. Hey, we're all good, man. So it ain't nothing that you can't handle. So kind of putting Coach Quick on the spot here tonight. But first of all, I want to appreciate Coach Quick for another great broadcast, great podcast. He just, again, Coach has been on the grind, and this time of year my schedule is really hectic with my day-to-day, and then, of course, basketball. So I was like, really, I was sitting there at work, and it was like getting late, and I was just like, man, today's Wednesday, we're supposed to get a show, and then, I hit Coach Quick up, and he was like, man, he had some stuff popping. So I said, you know what, let me get home, shut it down for about 40 minutes, and I'll be able to bounce back. But once you sit behind the mic and get that music flowing, and Coach Quick gets on there, we're able to pull this off. But most importantly, my closing comments, I appreciate you, Mike, for giving us a shout out for Coach Capel. I did a show a couple of weeks in honor of him, and again, it's been tough. It's still day to day because he's done so much for me. As a person, because I tell people I couldn't score 25 in the closet by myself, and I couldn't throw it in the ocean if my toes were stuck in the sand. But he believed in me, and he saw something in me, and he allowed me to be a part of something special. So appreciate Mike bringing that out, and I know the guys continue to push forward. I'm staying in weekly contact with Jerry, Coach's wife, just to make sure that she's great. But the outpouring at the service was just tremendous. Saw so many guys. But again, just ask everybody just to keep us uplifted as we go through this, because it's not going to be easy, especially as we start to close in on the holidays. It'll be their first Christmas without their dad. So that's the tough thing. But it's guys like Coach Quick that makes us continue to push forward. It's guys like Coach Capel that are looking down and saying, no, you got to push the envelope. You got to do what you got to do. But again, great show, Mike, and I appreciate you taking the leadership on tonight's broadcast, and it's so special to be able to do this, we say each week. So, folks, we just want to make sure that you continue to support us as we continue to expand the globe, and as we said at the opening, that we are now in Ghana, Africa. So we just appreciate your continued support on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as Podbean, Facebook, YouTube. So wherever you can check us out, check us out. But Coach Quick, I'm going to toss it over to you for you to close us down. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yes, sir. And as we close out, I'd just like to give a shout out to Zamir White of Scotland County Senior High School in Lawrenceburg, North Carolina, as he's been named the National High School Player of the Year for 2017. He'll be attending the University of Georgia next season on football scholarship, and the kid tore his ACL a couple of weeks ago, but him and his teammates, they're playing for the state championship this weekend in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, against Harding University varsity football team. Zamir in Scotland, they're 12-1. Harding University is 13-1, so it should be a great state championship game. Yeah,
so as Coach Quick calls out the top player out of Scotland County, we certainly wish them continued success. I know I got a couple. I got a friend that sons plays on there. Mr. and Mrs. Reggie Williams' sons play on the Scotland High School team. So best of luck. So again, as we close out, don't forget our scripture verse, John 14:6. I am the way, the truth, and the light. So for Coach Quick, the best co-host this side of heaven, and your host, Coach Goins, as we always say, somebody somewhere is working on the game, and we'll see you in the game.